up your engine. Now, most people have heard the expression, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Well, if you follow that all the time with your car, you're going to find out that it's going to cost you a lot more money in the long term, because there are some things that if you just leave it alone and don't do anything about it, eventually problems build up and then wham, you're going to get hit with a giant repair bill. You can do this stuff yourself before you have a problem. You don't have to waste money on unnecessary repairs, unnecessary maintenance, but there's some really crucial things that you should just keep an eye on so you don't end up with a gigantic repair bill because you didn't do something simple. Now, the first thing is your car's electrical system, the battery, the alternator. You want to make sure that it's not on its way out and leaves you stranded somewhere. The battery, start your car. Then, if you got a normal car, the alternator runs the car and recharges the battery. But being electrical, they often don't just go out like that. They gradually wear out. So it's a good idea to have them tested every once in a while. Now, I'm a mechanic, so I got this great Autel tester. You can check the battery, the alternator, and the starter all at once within about a 2-minute period. And here we go. Simply do an in-vehicle test. We start testing. In this case, it said it's a 96% state of health, but only 68% state of charge, good and recharge, and that's totally correct because we hardly ever use the Lexus anymore since we got our new hybrid Camry that gets twice the gas mileage. Then you start the car, and it shows it's working fine. Then, it checks the charging system. You turn the electrical lights and power on. Test it under load. Then you turn the car off, and it'll give you the results. Everything's normal, gives the voltage, no low voltage, everything's fine. Now, that's a fancy mechanics tool. Well, this is an Ansel BA301, it's a battery tester. Does the same thing. When I tested this, it came with the same results. So, you can buy a $50 tool that'll check stuff like that yourself if you don't trust people. Mind you, it's certainly not as fancy as this, and this can actually look up all the specs of your vehicle. It's got a dongle that plugs into the OBD port. It's a very complex tool, right? And if there's problems that people have that nobody else can figure out, I use that. But for just a general check to see if your car's working good enough, you can use one of these. Now, you don't waste your money on an expensive battery. Most are over 200 bucks. Expensive alternators that run you 800 or 900 bucks with labor. Expensive starters that can run just as much as the alternator. But it's a good idea to test them every so often, because it's not broken now. What if it strands you somewhere? Then, hey, if a tow truck guy comes, he's going to try to sell you a really expensive battery. It might not even be that good of a battery. They buy them cheap and sell them high, right? Or if your starter or alternator goes bad and strands you in the middle of nowhere, they got you by the short and curlies, they're going to charge you whatever they want. With this testing, you can know ahead of time so you don't get stranded and you can pick the best deal. Now, another example of not going by if it ain't broke, don't fix it is your drive belts. We used to call them fan belts. Well, they're made out of rubber. Rubber cracks, rot, stretches, so you want to look at them closely, right? This one's nice and tight. I got this nice Olight flashlight. It's nice and bright. And when we look down, you can see the belt down there. It's not cracked or anything. It's nice and smooth. It's not loose. It's not squealing. So the belt's fine. But if it's cracked or if it's stretched and you hear it squealing all the time, you don't want to wait till it's broken. You don't want to do, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, because then you'll be stranded somewhere. Now, of course, the most important maintenance you want to do in your car, you don't want to wait till the engine breaks, is changing the oil. I'm a firm believer in changing it every 5,000 miles. Full synthetic oil, a full synthetic filter, and your engine's going to last forever. But something a lot of people don't think about is the coolant. Hey, the coolant's going to last forever. Here's the coolant overflow in this case. Coolant doesn't last forever. Now, you got to look it up for your own individual car, but in the case of these Toyotas, I buy the Toyota type coolant. Toyota doesn't make it, they buy it from another company, but it's a pink coolant, and it's good for 7 years or 150,000 miles. That's a long time, right? But you still have to do it if you keep your cars that long, because, yeah, you might be running perfectly fine, but Everything on these cars, everything, the heads, the blocks, made out of aluminum. And you might say, oh, Scotty, well, aluminum doesn't rust like cast iron does. What am I worried about? Well, aluminum's got two problems. One, it doesn't rust, but it corrodes and it pits a lot more seriously than iron will. And iron is much harder. Higher temperatures don't bother the iron as much. Dirt and high temperatures can really ruin aluminum parts in cars. You want to make sure you got the right coolant for your car that's made for aluminum engines. Almost all engines are made out of aluminum. And change it on the specifications of your car. In this case, I only change it like every 7 years or 150,000 miles. I never make it to 150, so I change it every 7 years. And I've never had coolant problems with any of my cars. Now, another example of if it ain't broke, don't fix it being wrong is your car's paint and exterior. I've been using Meguiar's products for years and years. They don't pay me anything. I bought this can myself, right? I don't do paid advertising. I think it's sleazy. I just try a product, show you what's good, show you what's bad. Your car's paint needs to remain somewhat pliable. It sounds crazy, but it is somewhat pliable. By waxing it, you keep it pliable. If you don't wax it, the ultraviolet rays of the sun will start to wipe it out and it will start to crack. You see those junky cars going down the road with cracks all over the paint. Now, some of it is just poor painting, like those GM vans, the white vans. You see plenty of them. You see the aluminum underneath because the paint all fell off. They use crappy water-based paint. That's another story. But if you want to keep your car so the paint looks good and doesn't look horrible, just wax it at least once a year. You know, it's a simple thing. It's not rocket science. After the car's clean, you wash it first, dry it, then you just buff it around. It's that simple. And I've been using this cleaner wax forever. It cleans, it waxes, protects against UV damage, especially on these super expensive plastic headlight assemblies. It's not a bad boy, and I'll let this one get too dirty. Haven't cleaned it in months. Polish it all around. Then when it dries to a haze, get a nice microfiber towel like this, buff it all down. Then it's going to repel water better, keep the UV rays from destroying it, and you won't have to buy a super expensive assembly. Now, we bought this Lexus years ago secondhand, and the headlights were all fogged up because the original owner didn't do it. I replaced these headlights, oh, I don't know, 7 years ago or so. They're still looking good, even though they're just Chinese-made ones, because I take care of them. Now, these days, a good paint job costs a small fortune. So, a tub of wax is not that expensive, and it's pretty easy to do yourself. It's not rocket science, or let's say you don't want to, go to a detail shop, have them do it for you, right? They're more than happy to polish the car for you. Your car will look better, it'll last longer, and of course, if you do the headlights, you can see better at night, because when they're fogged up, when you turn your headlights on, they're not as bright going down the road either. It's a safety thing. Your tires, you're riding on air and rubber. Now, tires these days last a long time, but there's two things that happen to them. One, they wear out, the tread's worn out, or two, they dry rot if you don't drive that much. And even though maybe you've only got 10,000 miles, but you've been driving on it for 8-10 years, they might be dry rotted. Now, these Michelins have been on here for a long time, 7-8 years, but they're pretty good tires. They're not dry rotted. I don't have many miles on it. The treads are plenty thick. You can see they have wear bars. When they're worn down to the wear bars, they're worn out. They're nowhere near the wear bars. But if they're worn down to the wear bars or they have uneven cupped wear, you want to replace the tire and you want to check to see if you have any suspension problems that will then wear the new tires out. But this just goes to show you, Michelin makes pretty good tires. Like I say, these tires are like 7-8 years old and they're not cracked or anything. They still work fine. They don't leak air. But tires are like a canary in a coal mine. Instead of warning you that there's no oxygen and you're going to all die if the canary stops singing and drops dead, right? If they start to wear oddly, could be you got a bad ball joint tie rod. Tire could actually fall off if you hit a big bump and your tie rod or ball joint are all worn and ready to fall off. It's a sign. So you want to check to make sure they're worn evenly, not cup worn on one edge versus the other. Quick thing you can do, take you a minute to look at all 4 tires and you'll have peace of mind. Or maybe you won't have peace of mind because you look and say, Man alive, my tires are all cracked and rotten. I better change them up before it's too late. I had that happen years ago with my wife's Cressida. She'd gone to a lot of Corpus Christi, came back to Houston, and she got a flat tire. Luckily, it was half a mile from our house. So I go to change it out, and I look. Now, we bought this car secondhand, this Cressida. She had it before she had the Lexus. Little old lady drove it. It only had like 15,000 miles on it. And the tires still had like 90% of the tread left. And I looked, they all had plenty of tread. But then I started looking at all the tires closely. They were all dry rotted because they were the original tires from the car. And even though the car was 10 years old, 15,000 miles on it, they were dry rotted and they were unsafe. So I quick went out and bought 4 new tires. And from now on, I watch the tires a lot closer. Because I don't want to have something bad happen because the tires are dry rotted and they could blow at any moment. Especially if you hit a big pothole or something and they're dry rotted, cracked, they'll rip right open. And of course, it's best for you to do this stuff yourself. Learn how to do it. At least check it, even if you're not going to do any work. Because go to a tire store. If you say, do I need tires? Do you think they're going to say, no, you don't need tires? It's like going to a shoe store. Do I need no shoes? Oh, yeah, you need shoes. Hey, look, there's a new great shoes. La, 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 la. Right? People are always going to try to sell you something. And with the average mechanic charging anywhere from 150 to 200 bucks plus per hour for working on your car, the money's going to add up really quickly. Now, of course, there's lots of things that, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, make total sense. If your car's running perfectly fine, you don't need to have your fuel injection system clean, yada, 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 right? If you're getting the same gas mileage you always got, your car doesn't burn any oil, and it runs perfectly fine, people are just trying to sell you something to make money, right? They just want to sell you stuff. Like one of the biggest things people try to sell in shops is a transmission flush. We'll flush all the fluid out of your transmission with our machine, yada, yada. You're going to pay hundreds and hundreds of bucks for that. And especially if you have an older car, it could damage stuff. High mileage cars, 150, 180 or more, I tell people, look, if you haven't changed the fluid every 40, 50,000 miles, you got that kind of miles, just leave it alone. And never flush it. Because if you flush it, little pieces can get in the little nooks and crannies in the automatic transmission and voila. It either won't move or it'll start slamming into gears and work really poorly. So if it's shifting okay now, leave it alone. It's not broke, don't fix it. Now, there's a amount of cars like this TRD Toyota, it's 2023, the transmission is sealed. You still want to change the fluid every 40 or 50,000 miles, right? You don't want to flush, you just want to drain whatever comes out, put the same amount of the exact same fluid back in to maintain it. You want to keep your vehicle for a really long period of time. Because eventually, guess what? Fluid's going to get dirty. You're going to have problems. A lot of the dealerships these days say, oh, it's a lifetime fluid. We never change it. Don't worry about it. That's total nonsense. But if you haven't done it and you got 150, 200,000 miles, it's still working okay, my advice there is leave it alone. Don't tempt fate because then you could have all kinds of problems. But if you want to maintain it correctly, then you maintain it by changing the fluid every 40, 50,000 miles in a Toyota. And if I had a Nissan CVT or something like that, I would change it every 30,000 miles. It's easy to drain what comes out and pump the same amount back in. It's not rocket science. The dealers will want to charge you $500-600 bucks. You can buy the fluid for $60 to $80 and do it yourself. Now, you know, there are certain things that you want to maintain to fix a problem before it becomes a large problem. And then it's going to cost you a whole bunch of money. Now, people are out there to sell you all kinds of stuff. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. That's why I make these videos, to show you, here's stuff you can do yourself. Here's stuff that at least you can check yourself. Just like I tell people, get yourself a cheap scan tool. You can buy a $50 scan tool that's decent, right? I got a $50 Autel scanner, and it's pretty good for somebody who wants to learn a little bit about cars. So even if you're not going to fix it yourself, you'll have knowledge. And if you have knowledge, especially with things like ChatGPT, you can put in your car the code. It'll tell you all the possible things, what could go wrong. So you get an idea. When you go to the garage, you'll say, oh, I'm not sure what's wrong, but it's got this code and this problem. I think it could be this. Then they're not going to think, gee, this guy doesn't know anything. We'll really rip him off. You'll have a better chance because, of course, knowledge is power, right? And you don't want people lording their power over you when you're paying $200 an hour for that power. A lot of stuff you can easily do. Don't throw your money away where you don't need to, but with the average price of a new car being almost 50 grand, That's a lot of money to flush down the toilet for not doing simple things like I've just showed you. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.